You're listening to MAV FM, made by students for the world. This is Student Music Hour, and today we have a special guest named Will Newman. Why don't you introduce yourself, Will?
Hi, I'm Will. I'm a senior in the music industry program at Mankato State. I'm excited to be here.
Mm-hmm. Do you still call it Mankato State? Or because we're supposed to call it Minnesota State University.
Oh, Minnesota State.
But I don't know. People kind of call it both Mankato State and Minnesota State, and I still kind of call it both. I'm confused if we're supposed to call it MNSU or MSUM, because it's like Minnesota State University Mankato is like MSUM, but I always see people do MNSU, and I also do that too because it's Minnesota State University. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Anyway, Will, what kind of music do you make?
I feel like that's a question I ask myself a lot. I feel like my goal is to make a whole bunch of different music. I'd love to be like the person that can sit in multiple different writers' rooms and do a bunch of different genres of music. I feel like, but most of the time I end up writing more acoustic, singer-songwriter-y type of songs.
Right. Okay. So I'm always curious. This is the number one question I want to ask you right now because I've always been curious. Are you actually from Canada? Because you say like sorry and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I was born in Winnipeg.
Oh, really?
Manitoba.
Do you still live up there then?
No, we moved down here when I was like 6 months old, so I've always grown up here. But my parents are both from Winnipeg. And pretty much all my family, other than like one aunt and uncle in Vegas, and then a grandma in Calgary, Alberta, but everyone else is in Winnipeg.
Okay. And another topic I wanted to get to is, because we were just talking about this before we started recording, but Ableton versus Logic, because I always find that when I'm writing songs, I like using Logic. And for those who don't know, Logic and Ableton are digital audio workstations. So pretty much every song you hear today is recorded on a computer on a program called a digital audio workstation. And it's basically where you have like multi-tracked like recordings. So you have like 30 recordings or like 100 and you put it together and you mix it. And anyway, two of the DAWs are called Logic and Ableton. Logic is made by Apple. Ableton is made by I don't even know. I think it's just Ableton. Ableton makes Ableton. But I think I like Logic for songwriting and Ableton for mixing. I don't know where your head is at, but I've been using Ableton a lot more lately. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it depends on what song I'm writing. Like, I feel like recently I've been doing a lot of stuff that's just like bass guitar, electric guitar, and then MIDI drums. And so I've been using Ableton. I like Ableton a lot for instruments for some reason. And I like using Logic for recording vocals just because you can loop it and keep recording over and over again. Ableton, you just kind of have to restart every time and like pause it, and it's kind of annoying. But I don't know. I like Ableton. Just that new update fixed my biggest issue was I hated how like mixing was horizontal for a while, or like the plugins were horizontal, but now you can actually like pull up your meters and have everything like be vertically stacked like Logic is. I think the routing in Logic is a little more straightforward because it's like a standard, like using a board, kind of. I feel like visually I like Ableton more, though.
Yeah. That's a big thing because you spend a lot of time mixing, and honestly, I think that's underrated is how your stuff looks. Because, I don't know, there's probably a way to like change the Logic thing, like how it looks. I haven't found it yet. If one of our listeners does know what to do, how to change how Logic looks, I would appreciate that. Okay. So, how did you end up at Minnesota State University Mankato? Because I'm curious.
It's a good question. I feel like I knew like right away in high school, like once I started playing guitar again, that I probably wanted to do something in music. So then my only goal was basically to find a college that had like a contemporary music program. And Mankato State was like the only one I found really in trying to get in-state tuition that had like a good contemporary music program, because places like the U of M and other like, I don't know, bigger universities that you think of, it's all like classic band stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like. And so it just kind of worked out. I don't know. I didn't, once I found Mankato, I didn't look at a ton after it because it was the only one that I was able to find that had the kind of music industry program that we have here. And it was close to home, but also it's like, for me, it's like an hour and a half away. So it's just enough where it's like easy to get back for the weekend, but you're also far enough away that you're kind of like separated and on your own a little bit. So you get some independence.
Where are you from? You might have mentioned it, but
I'm from Hanover,
Hanover?
Minnesota. So it's,
I'm gonna
you know,
look
like
it up.
St. Michael, Albertville is like 5 minutes away from us. I'm like 20 minutes west of Maple Grove.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like just a small little neighborhood area right in between like Buffalo, Maple Grove, Rogers, St. Michael. It was a nice place to grow up because we didn't have a lot of things you could walk to because it's pretty much just a neighborhood and like a gas station. But once we got our driver's license, there's, my friends and I could go to both sides versus I had a lot of friends that were like just in Buffalo. And then for them, it's either 45 minutes to St. Cloud or 45 minutes to Maple Grove, but we were kind of like 20 minutes to everything. So it was kind of nice.
That's right on the Crow River. That's kind of
Mhm.
the Crow River kind of flows like right through my neighborhood,
Oh, really?
and I've fished the Crow River a lot. So yeah, I'm kind of from the Hutchinson area. I don't know if you know
Oh,
what that is, but
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk also about your influences because I'm curious because you do like acoustic singer-songwriter, and there's a billion people that have done that, but you also do like other stuff too. So I'm curious where that kind of fits in and what kind of you're influenced by when you're sitting down to write a song. It's kind of a multi-layered question, but like, what are your biggest influences basically?
Well, I feel like my biggest influence that got me into music was probably like John Mayer. Like that was like right when I kind of like discovered him, and that's what made me get back into guitar and really like start pursuing music. And I think looking back, he was kind of like a good artist to get into because some of his albums that I listened to, there is like a lot of genre diversity, especially like in his later stuff, from having like a folk song and then like a funkier song and then a blues song, all guitar centric, but kind of exposed me to like different sounds. And then I feel like I just like a lot of music. And my parents always listened to a lot of music growing up. Like I grew up on like everything before high school was all like 50s to 80s music, I feel like for me. And then I don't know, other than like classical, I feel like I like all different genres, and I usually am pretty interested in trying to like make a bunch of different genres of music. Like I really like this guy Sam Galitry. He's like a house pop. It's more poppy than like traditional house music, but he does a lot of cool stuff. He did like a song with Pink Panthers and stuff like that.
Okay. I listened to a few John Mayer like live albums. He's a very good guitar player. It's ridiculous, kind of.
Yeah,
But-
he's really good live. I feel like he kind of like overhated. I feel like sometimes maybe just because he went in like the poppy direction, but I feel like that's his like strong suit at the same time because
one of my biggest opinions with music, and I don't know, people can disagree with that. That's okay, but I think pop is overhated. Honestly, I think there's some really good pop music out there that's overhated. I know that. Okay, with some stipulations that I think there's some really bad pop out there that's popular, and it's overproduced, and it sounds AI generated, and it's made by like 40 different songwriters that are like on there. But I think there's some really good pop out there that people hate on because it's popular. But I think there's some really good stuff out there. So when people say like, "Oh, you went pop," or "You like did this," like I don't know. I really think it's not that big of a deal. Like as long as the music is good, I guess. But maybe people have a different definition of pop and like what the word pop means to like go pop to like be more basic. But I don't know. I feel like there's some maybe when people say pop, they don't mean popular. They just mean like a certain kind of like not just like basic stuff. I don't know, but
Yeah, I feel like when I think of pop, I feel like it's usually the goal of the song is to have like a really good hook, or like
yeah,
I feel like that's what differentiates like a pop. Like I feel like lots of pop right now is super broad, like in genre influences.
mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the Sabrina Carpenter album is like almost country, Dolly Parton and some of it, and then the other half is all like 80s influenced. And I feel like I don't know, but I feel like the general consensus is they all just have like really catchy hooks. I feel like that's what makes it a pop song almost is focusing on like the catchiness of it the
Yeah.
most.
I think it's a lot different than it was like 30 years ago or like 40 years ago, where everything that was popular kind of sounded the same. I guess everything, there's a lot of similarities today, but it's so like different. Like if you just look at like a Spotify playlist of like, here's the top 40 right now, blah, 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 and you see like a hip hop song and like a country song. Maybe that's the way it's always been, but especially with like, I don't know, maybe decades is the best way to say this, but like you'll have an 80s inspired song and then like a 70s inspired song and then like a 2000s like recession pop song that's just like next to each other. And I feel like at no other time in history on the pop charts has that happened. I don't know. I don't follow the pop charts that much, but there's some good music on there. I don't know. I feel like it's overhated.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, so you do have a demo with you that you can play for us, I think.
Yeah, I got a couple. I got I got a verse and a chorus and then a
All
full
right.
demo. I don't know which one you want me to play first.
How about you play the full demo and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
You always took me for granted. Oh, you let me down every chance you had. You made me feel like I'm from another planet. Do you convince yourself that you're not bad? Now looking back, I see we were too young to be anything more. Now that I'm thinking, it's pretty funny. That I used to think you were the one. Do you ever find yourself thinking about me?
All right. That was really good.
Thanks.
What is that song called? Does
Right
it
now,
have-
anything more.
Anything more?
Yeah, for the longest time, it was just called Final Bounce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it didn't have a name.
All right. If you just joined us, you're listening to MAV FM. This is Student Music Hour. MAV FM is made by students for the world. We're the student-run radio part of KMSU here at Minnesota State University, Mankato, or Mankato State, I guess. We're here with Will Newman.
Hello.
He's an artist. He just wrote and played and sung on and produced and mixed and mastered the song that you just heard. He wears a lot of hats, and we're having a conversation about, I don't know, whatever we want to have a conversation about.
Everything.
Are you a big hockey fan?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I was all hockey. Like, growing up, I played hockey all the way up until high school, and that's when I kind of transitioned to focusing on music. I actually feel like recently I've been more of a basketball fan.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a newer sport for me, so it's fun to have something to, like, learn new rules and stuff. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Gather steps and all the different, like,
Yeah.
now all my feed is full of people, like, saying, like, that should have been a travel. And, like, I don't know. There's so many different, like, technical aspects of it that makes it fun to get into.
I play basketball a lot. I think it's the funnest sport to play, in my opinion. So this is going to be a little bit of a whiplash, but I wanted to ask you how, because I'm kind of running into this too, but how is it like being a student and balancing that while also starting a music career? Because you kind of have to do both at the same time. I feel like that's not the same for like other careers. Like you go to school and then you get out of school and you find a job and boom, there's your career, you're going. But when you're a musician, you kind of have to like, or at least I guess you don't have to, but if you want to like get ahead and you want to start going on it, then it just makes sense to start while you're in college because you're in college. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah, like Olson always
there's
says.
no reason not to. So it's just like you should start your career now and then. But it's really hard to like balance taking all these credits and having all these assignments and doing all this stuff while also trying to book gigs, trying to get like a band going, trying to play with people, trying to like just practice. I feel like that's kind of tough. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Being a student while starting a music career?
Well, it's definitely like consumes my daily thoughts, I feel like, all the time. Trying to think of like how to balance my time. Because it is hard. Every like Monday through Thursday, I'm doing like a part-time job from 8 to noon and then classes. And then just trying to like fit in time after that to work on music. But at like, the same time, like just do like normal life things like go to the gym or like see friends or something like that. So I think the most important thing for me has been like, I don't know, trying to like reflect and give myself credit. I feel like that's like the hardest thing is I'm usually end every day being like, I didn't get enough stuff done today. Instead of realizing that I just wasn't being realistic about my expectations for the day, I feel like. Where I'm like, I still am getting stuff done, but it's just like right now I feel like this semester, I'm making a bunch of progress and like learning more about mixing. I'm spending more time like writing songs, but I haven't like played a single gig or like, put together any set list. So like it's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back in a different area. But it's hard to like fit it all in because there's so many aspects of it too. And then I have like my little LLC or whatever like set up to try and do like the business side of things or whatever.
For royalties and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just sometimes to the point where I like forget about some random thing. I'm like, I didn't even like my LLC like I think was defunct for like a week because I realized that I didn't repay my annual fee and then I had to like restart it because my business like technically ceased to exist and then it came back. So
That's funny. The big thing for me, and this is what I would tell anybody that's a freshman coming into college, you should, I don't want to sound like don't do your assignments or whatever, but you should prioritize your life. Yeah. But anyway, we're getting kind of deep, but like
I think that's good advice. I feel like my first, like, it wasn't until last year that I had the realization of a professor, my own professor, telling me, like, stop caring about your grades so much. Like, I felt like my first 2 years, I was still in, like, a high school mindset of, like, I always liked to get good grades because I felt like I could if I, like, put the effort in. But then my first 2 years, I was, like, trying to get all A's in all, like, my generals. And now they're done. And I'm never going to, like, I don't know, study the anatomy of a turtle for a biology class, like, ever again.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like we're I'm gonna graduate pretty soon. Will's gonna graduate pretty soon. So we're like telling freshmen like don't work at like your stuff. But like you still need to work hard when you can. But I don't know. You gotta prioritize like ultimately like what are you doing and what is this for? And like what are you gonna get out of it? And is it worth doing? And I find myself more and more wanting to prioritize other people more than the things that I prioritized when I first came into college. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like case by case, like definitely, but I don't know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
if you get what I mean,
It's all part of the journey, too. I
Yeah.
feel like looking back, I was like, I really coasted, like, my first 2 years. Like, I was just like, I didn't even, like, I'm not, like, a big party guy or anything, but just, like, normal college stuff, like, just wanting to, like, go out or, like, meeting new people or even, like, freshman year, like, being with a random dorm roommate and just, like, hanging out or, like, I don't know. I don't feel like I worked as hard my first 2 years, but I don't feel like I have regrets either because I feel like it was just, like,
yeah.
part of the journey of, like, learning how to, like, prioritize or even what I want to prioritize my time, like, what I want to spend my time doing.
And I guess like balancing being a professional while doing other life stuff is just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of being alive. I don't know. Work-life balance is like what we do. I don't know. It's like being alive. But anyway, so I wanted to ask you also about social media marketing because I know you were in the social media marketing class last semester.
Mm-hmm.
Any strategies that you have that might be useful for our listeners or stuff like that, or if you don't want to like give out your secrets, then
No, I don't have secrets. I feel like because we had that social media marketing class, we were supposed to find a brand image and like stick to a schedule of posting. I was still I feel like I am kind of in still like this weird limbo period of like, I do like so many different genres of music and I don't have as firm of a grasp on what my niche would be really. I feel like right now my goal is to like just write different pieces of music that are all like meant for a specific place and time, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, writing music that like sets a mood really well. But for the marketing, like, I think it's if you don't exactly know like what your brand is yet, I think the best thing is just to like just like follow your gut instinct on what you want to post. Because I was posting way more consistently for that class, but my viewers were like the lowest. Like my views and likes were the lowest they ever were, honestly, when I was doing that. Because I was like putting out content just for the fact that I had to put out content. Versus when I stopped that, I haven't really like posted much this semester, only like once since last semester ended. But I don't know, all the videos that I did just because I like wanted to, or because it was like a song that I liked and wanted to cover or whatever, all those posts end up doing way better. So I feel like it just kind of like reinforced the fact that I feel like I should just stick to my gut. Like I feel like a lot of my learning the last like couple years is just getting better at like trusting my own taste. Because that's all you have really, I guess, artistically at the same time. Like just, I don't know, not being ashamed of like my opinion or not hiding my opinion as much.
right. That's interesting. You got to understand, like, if you're listening, like, oh, just do this, do this, do this. And, you know, it's but it's you have a business. And it's kind of like it's hard to fit into a lane or into a scene. I don't know, but it's easier said than done a lot of the time. All this stuff that we're talking about, and like when you actually run into doing it, then you kind of run into not issues, but like certain things that it's hard, man. Like it's hard to be an artist and find a scene and do all this stuff because you're wearing so many hats, and like I will say it's hard. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Um anyway, I really wanted to talk about what was I going to talk about? Sorry. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what else has been going on. I don't know. Did you watch the Grammys?
I didn't even know that it was happening, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. I'd like totally forgot about it. I don't feel like those. I feel like Oscars and Grammys, maybe Oscars especially though, but I feel like lots of those award shows are losing importance
Yeah, probably.
in a way.
I know they're losing viewers, but I don't know if that's just because people watch TV less or people actually care less.
I don't know. I feel like this is like the Grammys that I've seen the most where people like I see the most disagreement like with the Grammys that are being handed out too.
Yeah.
Like they're not in touch with the general public as much, it seems like.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I can see that.
I think a lot of people wanted like Billie Eilish's album to win album of the year. Or just like I guess it depends on what I don't really know what the songs are being judged on for like
Yeah,
voting.
I've always been confused by that because like I get some parts about songs are like that like objective, like this sounds good, but I don't know, that's subjective too. So maybe it's like I know clarity is like objective, like you can say okay, objectively this mix of this song sounds clear and like there's a good structure and the singer is giving it a good performance. But I feel like the Grammys doesn't really care about that sometimes. So it's like, what objectively do they see like critically? And I've never figured it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't know. I don't know. Music is subjective, but it's not that subjective.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think with the Billie Eilish
They had like a AI generated like Beatles song that was like nominated. It was,
Really?
yeah, you can
know that.
like say what you're gonna say about the Billie Eilish things though. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I'm pretty sure her album was like the most listened to, like by far, like the most popular album of the year, just based off of like streams and units sold and stuff like that. But I think she lost every single. I think she was nominated like 4 or 5 times, and I think she lost all of them. So I don't know if album of the year is it supposed to be like the biggest album of the year or what? Because I guess Cowboy Carter, Beyonce's album won album of the year.
That was a good album though. I feel like I don't know. Sometimes they go by criticalness, and sometimes they just don't care about it. So I feel like they're always changing their standards.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes they try to be controversial so people talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of my theory. Because I don't know how many people are like, I watch the Grammys because they're so good at being critical about music, and they're so good at it. I feel like they watch the Grammys because for the controversy and the drama.
Mm-hmm. The red carpet.
And I feel like they play into that a lot
Mm-hmm.
at the Grammys when they're trying to like nominate stuff. But I don't know. Maybe for like the lesser categories, maybe they don't care about that as much, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe they don't actually care about that, but I don't know. I was going to ask you, are you thinking about songwriting as a career, being a songwriter, or are you thinking more like being an artist? Or is it kind of both? I don't know.
I guess it's kind of both, but I don't know. I feel like I get the most satisfaction out of like writing a song, or like that's what I want to do the most of is like write music. But I do want to like write songs for myself that I like, release under my own artistry or whatever. But I guess if I had to pick one, like if I just wanted to perform like other people's songs or if I just wanted to write them, I'd probably rather just write them. But the goal would be probably to, write and perform my own music. But I'd also love to just like be in a position where I could collaborate with tons of people and just like songwrite all. I feel like that would be the dream, like just
Being in a writer's room. And
perform, and then when you're not performing, you're like spending most of your time in a writer's room just writing with people.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be fun.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments other than guitar, or?
Like I play enough like simple bass to like track it for my songs, and like same with piano, but I'm not like a proficient piano player, but I don't know, good enough that I can, get it down on MIDI and then go and delete my mistakes kind of thing.
I feel like learning production is like learning an instrument. Like, I feel like I would count that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes it's almost, I don't know, in 2025, it's almost more important to be a proficient producer than to be a proficient piano player. And that might sound bad, but like, just think about it for a second and realize how much music you listen to that's like produced beats versus how much music you listen to that's like somebody playing guitar or somebody playing piano. And like, just think about that as you listen to music today. Because, I don't know, I feel like learning production as an artist is so important, just to like see through and like find good producers, even if you're not going to be producing your own stuff, but like realize what is good production, what is bad production.
Yeah.
And like, at least even if you're going to hire a producer someday, which I don't know, I feel like artists probably should, if you're going to like make it, whatever that means. But I feel like still being able to parse through and make decisions, I feel like that's still important. So I guess it's different if you're going to play live a lot, which I guess you probably will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
we're also kind of like at a spot where if like technology wise, if you're good at production and you like can kind of hear it in your head, like what you want, it's easy enough where maybe it's slower if you're not a proficient piano player, but you can like, just plug in what you want to hear slowly but
MIDI.
surely. Because I feel like, if you know a bunch of music math, it still doesn't translate to like, I don't know, making a good melody necessarily.
So you still have to have the artistry.
Yeah. Like, I think that's what I was thinking about with John Mayer. Like, I feel like when he gets overhated, because he can play, like, really technical guitar parts, but most of the time in his songs, he'll choose to have, like, a really simple solo, maybe. But he leans more towards, like, the phrasing and the melody. Like, he's trying to serve the song, I feel like, more than ripping a solo.
Yeah, have you heard, I don't know if you've heard of MIDI 2, but it's going to be a big deal. I think if
really?
or with the next MIDI, they're going to have like it's more humanized, like MIDI.
Huh. Yeah, that would be
MIDI
cool.
2. I might actually be wrong about this because I think it might be already out.
Well, I remember when I went to NAMM, I saw like MIDI's come a long way in how they have like MIDI flutes now, where you're like actually like playing the flute, and it sounds pretty good because you get the same kind of, I don't know, I guess humanness of an actual flute player, but just
MIDI
through
2.0 is supposed to be better velocity, pitch, and timing for more expressive stuff, I guess. So instead of 128 steps, it's 4 billion.
That's a big increase.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of like microsonic, or what's the word? Microtonal. It's a lot of microtonal stuff.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear them side by side. See like can really hear the differences.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is what I saw at NAM. So it's MIDI Associations Network, MIDI 2.0. There already is USB MIDI 2.0, but
Oh.
it's not as adopted yet, apparently.
Yeah,
it got released as a technology, but I guess not as many people use it yet.
I guess that makes sense. It's kind of like the new, like, it's not surround sound mixing, or is it, or like the new spatial audio mixing that like some people do, but like barely anyone does because you have to have such a specific setup to do it properly.
I don't think so. I don't know a lot about it, to be clear, but I do know that it's going to be a lot more humanized. It's going to be a lot harder to tell what's like actual real playing and what's MIDI, apparently.
That'd be nice.
So I know, especially, you can really hear MIDI in strings. That's the big one, at least for me. And I know sample libraries have really changed this, but for me, I can like instantly tell when it's strings that are MIDI. And like, it sounds fine. You can use MIDI strings. Like, it has its own like place to be played, but I always prefer real strings to like MIDI. Like, you can kind of tell. Like, it's not really, part of it is the expressiveness, but also it's like perfectly in tune, which is weird because strings, especially like violin and like cello, they don't have frets. So a lot of those tones, it kind of sounds weird when it's like played like a piano. So, and vibrato too. The vibrato, when you're like an actual strings player, like playing an instrument, the vibrato is a lot more like varied. It's not the same speed every time, which MIDI strings is kind of. So with MIDI 2, a lot of it is going to be like more expressive, more varied, more random a lot of the time. And MIDI's always like on the block unless you move it. So it's going to be a lot less like on the grid, like every so many beats or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I feel like you notice a difference too in like the attack. Would you say so? Like of the instrument?
Yeah.
Like versus hearing like an actual like bow on a string. Just the way that the sound comes in.
Yeah.
I feel like sounds a lot different.
Because it's all kind of coming in at the same time, which is not how it actually sounds when you're like playing an instrument. Like, you hear a little bit of crunchiness when the bow first starts, and then it goes like or whatever. But it's hard to describe, but you can hear it. I can hear it pretty much instantly. I know if you can still use MIDI strings though, it's fine. But like, I think I've heard some pretty good recordings that use MIDI strings actually, and sample libraries have really changed it a lot. Like, I heard a story of a guy who lives in Minnesota, but he did the full soundtrack for like a Hulu series that was like old-timey, like Victorian era.
Oh, really?
He did the whole soundtrack using just a sample library. It actually sounded like just regular, like an actual orchestra recorded it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources out right now, and there's a lot of software. Like even MuseScore has like a couple. Like, people don't like MuseScore because like the demos don't sound like other like sample libraries or like certain other software. But I feel like MuseScore, you can even get some good orchestra recordings out of that. So I don't know. Anyway, this has been Student Music Hour on MAV FM with Will Newman. Oh, I'm going to say that one more time because I said Mill Newman. But with Will Newman, thank you for listening to MAV FM, made by students for the world. I don't know if you want to say bye. Just say.
Yeah, I'll say bye. It was fun being here.
All right. Thanks for coming, and goodbye.